They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's right, there's a beholder in the room. Roll for initiative. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. I'm on that you are having a great day, and in today's video, I'd like to sit back in my kind of squeaky chair, relax, and have a little conversation with all of you guys about the Cyberpunk trading card game by Weirdco. That's right, the Kickstarter launched today, and we're going to have a little chat about it. And yes, before we begin, I know Uncle Frank's always negative about the Kickstarter TCGs, and it is true that I'm often skeptical about their long-term survivability, but I do have some positive things to say about the Cyberpunk TCG, and not just because I backed it. Yes, I did back it, but this is not a shield video. This is not an ad. This is just me talking about my overall opinions now that the Kickstarter's launched, about my hopes and fears, legitimate hopes and legitimate fears, for the future of the game. So let's get the great news out of the way first. The Kickstarter launched, and it was almost instantly fully backed, fully pledged, fully funded. And in fact, as of the recording of this video, it's over $6 million pledged to the project, which is a healthy, fat stack of cash, if I'm being honest. That's a lot of cards to print for the future. A lot of stretch goals were hit. A lot of the tiers were... I don't do a lot of Kickstarter stuff, so maybe I'm just unaware of how a lot of other projects do it, but there was like an $8,000 tier, which I thought was... congratulations to whoever bought that one. You guys have more money than I will. Just gonna put that out there. More money to spend on a project than I ever will. It's crazy. It's a lot of... you guys really believe in it, I hope. But let's talk about my hopes for this game. My hopes for the future of the game. Because obviously, now that the game is fully funded, it is going to be released. Or at least I hope it'll be released. Q3 of this year, with hopefully more sets coming in the future. There's a lot of reason to suspect that, at the very least, the Kickstarter boxes will do good on the secondary market. Not only are we in a overall hype market for TCGs in general, because that is true, we're also dealing with a kind of popular IP. Cyberpunk as a brand has been around for 40 years now, since the 80s. It's been around for a while now. It's got quite the history under its belt. A lot of memorable characters, especially with the video games and the Edge Runners anime making some impacts on the fandom, I would say. There's definitely some fan-favorite characters who are being used in the marketing for this TCG that are definitely drawing attention to it. The core mechanics of the game, and don't you guys worry, I will be attempting to play this game once it's actually out. The core mechanics seem solid enough that I can be confident that, at the very least, the design team knows what they're doing in terms of building a card game. There does also seem to be a lot of room for more built onto it, if that makes sense, especially when it comes to toying with the dice system. I'm kind of curious to see how they plan on, in potential future sets, messing around with the gig dice. I'm very curious, because not a lot of TCGs incorporate dice directly into the gameplay. In recent TCGs, there's Neopets Battle Dome, but no one wants to hear me talk about Neopets Battle Dome. You guys should play Neopets Battle Dome. But anyway, back on topic. One thing to be aware of, and one reason I at the very least think that the Kickstarter boxes will be very successful short and long term, is the demand. There's clearly demand. Yes, Cyberpunk is a popular franchise with a lot of diehard fans, honestly. Some serious fans, especially, again, with the anime bringing a lot of people into the brand. But just the Kickstarter alone seemed to really hit it off. In under 20 minutes, it was fully funded. And like I said, $6 million in under a day. That's a lot of money to throw behind something. And that tells you that there's a lot of people who are super passionate about it, super excited about it. That's really good. And even if half of the backers were fake, if half of the backers were not really backing the project, they weren't actually supporting it, they were just saying it to do whatever, Still, that's still a lot of people who clearly have a lot of desire for the product, a lot of demand for the product. And I think in the long term, that's good. That's good if the game can stick around for the long term. And, I do have worries about that. But if the game can stick the landing and stick around long term and pull a sorcery more than a meta zoo, that would mean that those Kickstarter boxes themselves would be awesome. And it means that the potential for that wonderful future set growth is even higher. It's something to consider. But with that being said, I do have concerns about the sustainability of the game. That always comes with anything that comes from Kickstarter. The big one, of course, is Weirdco themselves. The company is relatively new, and so far as I'm aware, they're untested, entirely untested. This is their first TCG. They are passionate individuals. I have watched several of the live streams, not all of them, but several of their live streams. So these guys are clearly passionate individuals who are fans of the series, who are clearly very knowledgeable about the ins and outs of game design, and they're very professional about it. But again, it does need to be said that this is their first TCG. Balance will always be an issue when it comes to new TCGs, with some experimental mechanics. The game also has its limits. Sorcery, for instance, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! Those all have the benefit of being able to kind of do their own thing indefinitely. Magic can always make a new character or world to give new cards to. Yu-Gi-Oh! Can always shit out a new archetype every 20 seconds. But Cyberpunk is a licensed game. That doesn't necessarily doom it, obviously. Pokemon is, for more or less all intents and purposes, a licensed game. Sure, it's made in-house effectively, but it is effectively a licensed game by the fact that it does require a larger franchise to pull its card options from. Cyberpunk has much the same limitations to its overall flavorful design. Not mechanic design, mind you. Not mechanic design, just flavorfully. There's only so many Cyberpunk characters they can pull from. There's only so many Cyberpunk locations and concepts they can pull from. They can't, and it's not even a large list. From what I understand, their license is only for the video game Cyberpunk 2077 and the anime Cyberpunk Edge Rules. If I'm wrong on that, feel free to correct me down below. But I do think I remember hearing that on the Discord, that they didn't have access to the full library, at least not yet, of the Cyberpunk history for all the RPG stuff. And I'm sure that they could always, make their own new characters, but new characters wouldn't necessarily sell packs or boxes. It would be the fan favorite characters like Adam Smasher, who are necessarily pulling Adam Smasher, Rebecca, the one he pancaked, Lucy, I think, is the rainbow-haired one. Obviously, V, Johnny Silverhands, Adam. So there's like 5 characters that a lot of people are really aware of. Yeah. Those more recognizable characters are what's going to draw in some attention. That's what works for franchises like Disney or Lorcana, for instance. It's the big recognizable characters. Mickey Mouse brings in sales. And Elsa brings in sales, But beyond the limitations of the game and the potential inexperience of the guys behind it, there is another worry to take into account when it comes for the potential future of the game, and that is just all things being equal. Yes, there is that 2-year wall to worry about, where design could result in a terrible set that ends up getting enough people to just leave the game for greener grass, right? There's also the fact that right now we are in, like I said earlier, a huge TCG hype boom. There's a lot of money right now flowing into card games as a whole. Will that stay the same way forever? Probably not. And if the boom flips and goes into a bust cycle, newer card games, untested card games with potentially smaller audiences will be left high and dry. They'll be some of the first on the chopping blocks. Obviously, I'm not saying that Cyberpunk would be the first TCG to go if everything started flipping around and we left the hype cycle for a total collapse cycle, right? Left the bull for the bear, right? That's the terminology. But I am saying that if things are timed poorly and maybe balance isn't done carefully and maybe one poorly received set at the wrong time, that could be something that could do damage to the TCG long term. But I need to reiterate, I need to make it very clear, I don't think it's going to happen. I do think that there is a lot of genuine positivity, genuine excitement, and genuine demand for this card game. Again, if even half of the people who backed this project are bots or fakes or whatever, that's still a lot. That's still, what, $3 million on the table? Which is still way over the goals, right? That's a lot. And it leaves a lot of optimism out there for the future of the card game, because I want to do a video game, a gameplay video, not a video game. I want to do a gameplay video at some point once the game is actually out, so I can actually talk about how the game plays, because I think some of the core mechanics, especially with the legend characters and the gig dice, I think there's a lot of ways that they can kind of toy with that and make it super experimental and super fun, because, again, not a lot of other card games do that. Not a lot of other card games toy with dice in the way that Weird Co. is with this game. And I have a lot of excitement about that particular. I know it's a weird thing to get caught up on, but it is something that really leaves me going, I wonder how they can toy with that later on. So I'm curious to see, at the very least, what future sets look like, what all this stuff in the base set looks like. I'm curious to see what, if any, collectors pile onto this game. And I hope that this game does great in the future, and that after launch it grows and has some really awesome sets and is around 10 years from now at the very least. That's all I want to say. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. If you want to talk about Cyberpunk, hop down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. I do read all the comments. Check out the Discord. Check out the Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys. My tongue has been tied today. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.